So I keep failing epically every time that I try to make this intro, but you all know the drill. Good morning, I'm Finn. Welcome to Not Enough Spoons. Okay, so today's video is about motivation, procrastination, and perfectionism. I struggle with all three. Like too much perfectionism, not enough motivation, and too much procrastination. But I think a lot of people with mental illnesses or even chronic physical illnesses do. And I'm not making an excuse for myself or for anyone else. Just because it's harder for us to keep up with normal life doesn't mean that we shouldn't have to, although there are people who, because of whatever issues they have, literally can't, and they shouldn't be expected to. But I know, at least for me, I'm not expecting to get a free pass on anything just because I have issues. But there are reasons related to my issues that contribute to why I struggle with these things, and I think it's good to put it out there, because if you are close to someone who is struggling with some of these things, a lot of times they can come across as flaky or not good at following through with things, or like they don't care, or they're lazy, and this isn't always the case. Personally, for me, I feel like this stems from several things. One of the issues that I struggle with is that I get stuck on things very easily. And what I mean by that is that if I'm doing something, I have a very hard time switching gears and doing something else. And this applies to everything in my life. So if I have a day where I get up in the morning and I start being productive from the beginning of the day and doing the things I need to do, I'm going to continue doing that throughout the day, and I'll get a ton done. But if I wake up in the morning and I'm not feeling the best, and so I'm like, well, I'm just going to relax for a few minutes, watch some Netflix, read, do something like that, I'll find myself 6 hours later still doing the same thing, and I'm like, Finn, what are you doing? You have things you need to do. But I have a really hard time moving on, and I tend to just be like, I'm gonna finish this chapter, I'm gonna finish this episode, and then I keep going. And I think that this could be related to something called hyperfixation, which is pretty common in neurodivergent people, which is just basically, a lot of times it's used to describe special interests, and you'll be really stuck on one thing, but I feel like it also applies to me in every way possible. I just have a very one-track mind, and once I start something, I have a very hard time moving on, whether it's learning about something or doing some sort of activity or anything else for that matter. Another issue I really struggle with is perfectionism. In high school, a lot of people, when they hear that I graduated from high school 2 years early, are like, oh my gosh, you must have been this great student with great grades and all this stuff. And I wasn't. I had pretty awful grades, and the only reason that I graduated when I did was because I had the support of some amazing teachers that understood that I struggled to do everything I needed to do, and kind of tried to work with me to help me get what I needed done. But there were times I got close to failing classes just because I wasn't turning in my homework. And it wasn't that I was lazy and not doing it. It would be like I would start my homework, and if I didn't fully understand the concept, or I didn't feel like I was doing it well enough, then I wouldn't be able to turn it in. And so I would have this homework that would be half done or all the way done and never got turned in because I didn't feel like it was like worthy of being turned in. And so that was like a really big issue for me in high school. I would get, A's on all of my tests, but still end up getting close to failing the class because I didn't turn in the homework. And I think near the end of school, my teachers started to realize this. It was more like I just wasn't doing things to my full capacity. I had the ability to be a really good student, but I was kind of holding myself back. And that's something that I've worked on a lot since graduation. I do have really good grades in college now. I think part of that is because I'm so embarrassed about how horribly I did in high school, and I hold myself to such a high standard at this point that I won't settle for like anything less than an A. But even this gets to like an unhealthy point, because it's like I get tempted to retake classes that I get A minuses in now because it needs to be perfect, and that's just a waste of time and money. You don't need to be perfect, but my brain thinks I do, and so I just put it off. That's kind of the other thing is like procrastinating and putting things off. If I'm not doing something, like with my issues in high school, on the occasions when I actually didn't do the homework, it was because I was so overwhelmed by the thought of doing the homework, or so overwhelmed by how much homework I had, or so overwhelmed by something else that I would just procrastinate on it because I'd be like, oh my gosh, I have so much to do, I don't even know where to start. I'm just not going to start anywhere. And that's something that I still do a lot, not necessarily in relation to homework, although kind of, even though I have good grades now, I still tend to be doing my homework the night before kind of person, and I'm working on that, but it's really hard to unlearn those habits. But another way that it applies is like in my personal life, whether it's writing a letter I need to write to someone close to me, or, updating Sirius's Instagram. I feel like I'm constantly apologizing because I'm not doing the things that I need to do, and it seems like such simple things, And I worry that people don't think that my apologies are sincere because I do the same thing over and over and have to continue apologizing for it. But it's just like, it's been happening with these videos. I said I was going to post twice a week, and I'm struggling to post once a week. I'm really working on trying to change that, but I get so overwhelmed by the idea of, like, how much I need to talk about, or, sometimes it's even a matter of, like, I don't feel like I look very good today, I don't necessarily want to make a video, which is, obviously I'm not wearing makeup today, but, I'm really trying to work on being like, okay, things don't have to be perfect, you just have to get them done. And then you can work on making them better. But this is a really hard concept for me to grasp. Sorry, this is one of those things that I have so many thoughts on, and they're also scattered, and I wrote them down, but I'm still having trouble getting the words out, and so I just keep saying I kind of want to end the video. I think I'm ending the video. There might be more things after this that I forgot about. With kind of the things that I've learned recently to try to help myself improve my production and get myself to do the things I need to do. And a lot of these are things that I'm working on putting into place and I haven't necessarily gotten down yet. But I'm really hoping that I'll continue to keep learning from my mistakes and that things will actually change and it won't just be a bunch of empty apologies about the same thing happening over and over again, and instead there will be a change. I'm gonna work on trying to post more videos, trying to keep Sirius's Instagram updated, trying to journal and write and clean my room and do everything I need to do on a daily basis, because it seems so simple, but when you have really severe anxiety about everything, the littlest things become so overwhelming that you tend to just shut down. And so you have to learn how to fight that. And say, look, okay, this might not be what I want it to be. I'm feeling really overwhelmed. I'm not going to be able to get everything done right now, but I'm going to try my best. And that's kind of what the message I want to put out there to people who might be kind of frustrated with me not uploading videos when I'm supposed to, or me not really updating Sirius's Instagram page, despite the fact that I wouldn't have him if it wasn't for all the people that donated, and that's why I feel such a need to keep you guys included on what's going on with him. I forgot where I was going with this. Basically, I'm just trying to say that I'm working, and I completely lost my train of thought. So I might just be repeating a ton of stuff. But basically, where I think I was trying to go is that, I'm not going to make any promises about how good I'm going to be about, keeping things updated online, but that I am trying to change. And then finally, like I said, I want to end things by talking about the changes I'm trying to make and the things that I've learned. First of all, the big thing I'm finding out is that when I get up in the morning, even if I'm feeling really awful, I need to find a way to be productive first thing. Because otherwise I will fall into the pit of Netflix and feeling too overwhelmed to do anything. And I didn't really realize this until my most recent hospitalization, when I sort of got into this routine of getting up every morning, taking a shower, doing my hair and makeup, and then going to the morning stretch group that there was in the hospital, and just getting myself out of bed at a decent time, not just laying in bed forever after waking up, and really starting my day with important things is very helpful to kind of get myself going. And I'm not just saying these things as this is what I've learned, but also, if you think some of this stuff might help you because you also have problems with procrastination or lack of motivation or extreme perfectionism, just try some of this stuff out. I think another big thing is like using planners or bullet journals or some sort of schedule. But you have to figure out what works for you, and you have to try different things. And that's something that I struggle with because I want to strive so much for the like aesthetic of a really nice schedule. Or I just get way into it when I'm doing it and make it way too intense and like overly planned out to the point that I can't always keep up with it. Or, instead of doing the things I need to do, I will spend 3 hours putting together a plan of what I need to do. And it's like, those are 3 hours that I could have used to do things. So I need something to guide me, kind of just to like remind myself to get these things done. Because when I see them on paper and I have the ability to like cross them off, it is a very satisfying thing for me, and it's a big motivator. But I'm trying to go back to the basics by just making a simple list of everything I need to get done each day and categorizing it by like morning, afternoon, and evening, and then by its like level of priority. So I'm getting the things done that I really need to get done, and then hopefully also some things that would be good for me to get done but aren't as big of a deal. And if that simple list works for me, then I might try to improve it and make it more aesthetically pleasing. But for now, I'm trying to intentionally make it not, because I need to not get caught up in the little perfectionisms of things that don't matter, and instead use it as a tool to help me do more. And finally, something that is really helpful to me is trying to turn that inability to shift gears into something productive. So, I know for a lot of people, like even with homework, doing 20 minutes and then taking a 5-minute break and doing one subject for a little bit and then another subject. That's how they have to do it to kind of like keep themselves interested. But for me, it's so hard for me to get like really focused on my homework that once I do, I need to just stay focused on it. And this might mean working for 3 hours straight on a single subject without doing anything else. And I know that might not work for some people, but for me, once I get going on something, it's a lot easier for me to keep going on it than to break it up. And so I'm trying to apply that to other things as well. Like, for example, today I have plans to make at least 3 videos, and I'm just going to do them one after another, so I will actually get them done. I'm not sure if I'll upload them all today, or if I'll save some of them for days when I'm not doing so good at getting the videos done when I need to. But then, like, another day, I might try to spend the whole day cleaning, or spend the whole day writing. And there are some things that I need to work on doing every day, and I do need to get good at being able to do a little bit of everything every day, because I also don't want to end up so overwhelmed by something, by like the amount of something that I need to get done, that I keep putting it off. But trying to get ahead more, I guess, is a good way of putting it. Trying to, once I start something, continue with it past the point that I need to be at, so that if I'm struggling to keep up later on, I have a little bit of leeway. So yeah, I think that's it for today. Or at least for this video. Like I said, I'm going to be making a few videos today. I think I also might share my channel on Facebook, which is really scary for me because I know that I'm super awkward and cringy. Um, and I imagine watching videos that are filled with just ums and awkward pauses and me introducing myself as an alien is probably not like the most fun videos to watch. But, you know, that wasn't the point of this. The point of making these videos was to push myself to process things and talk about things because I have a tendency to just bottle everything up. And this is kind of holding me accountable to talking about it in kind of in the same way that therapy does. Only this is more me just like spewing my thoughts, which is important to sometimes do. Whereas in therapy, you know, they're constantly interrupting you and being like, let's problem solve this. And sometimes you don't need to problem solve, sometimes you just need to get it all out there in order to process. So that's kind of one reason that I'm trying to do this. And then the other one is because I know that there are other people out there who are struggling with similar things. I've met so many other people with chronic or mental illnesses that struggle with these same issues, with procrastinating and getting so overwhelmed by everything that they just don't do anything. And I really want these people to know, first of all, that they're not alone, and second of all, you know, I think it's really good to share what you're trying to do to help because sometimes there might be something that people don't think of that really helps them. And I'm not saying that my strategies are going to be helpful for everyone. But, you know, if something sounds like something that could be helpful to you, just try it out for a couple days and see what happens. I will flip you all on the seaside.